And we are live. Hello, carnivores, and welcome to session number 29. Professor Bart K needs no introduction, but I will definitely summarize it up anyway. He is a New Zealand-based professor in cardiovascular and respiratory physiology, in exercise physiology, nutrition, research methods, and statistics. He has published a number of peer-reviewed research and review articles, as well as book chapters. External consultancies include New Zealand All Blacks, NRL, and New Zealand and Australian Defence Forces. Professor K and I exchanged show appearances back in March 2023, where I learned once and for all why calorie tracking is completely ineffective, important health factors to keep in mind as competitive carnivore athletes, and lots more that have inspired some changes that I've applied to our team, having treated our last conversation just like a personal consultation. I'll put links to those talks in the show notes of this podcast. Today, we will be following up on how these changes have improved the lives of our team and how we can further optimize our health. Before we get into the meat, our Spotify review of the week is from Katie from New Jersey. She would like to say thank you for all the great information. Thank you for your feedback, Katie. All right, Professor K, welcome to Carnivore Coaches Corner.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to once again cross-pollinate with your fine folks, as it were.
Oh, thanks so much. Pleasure is all mine, that's for sure. What's new with you? What have you been up to lately?
Lately, I have been consolidating, clarifying, and really pushing a message that while the carnivore diet seems to be the vast majority of the battle with people's health at large in general, that it's not the be-all and end-all, and that there are 4 other factors that I think people should undertake in order to minimize the likelihood that they will themselves be chronically, systemically inflamed, which is absolutely the causal underpinnings of at least the top 5 killers of people.
Okay.
So that's where I've been focusing. And I took a bit of a break for several weeks from doing the who's wrong on the interwebs style videos where I put on the grumpy professor act, and it is an act. Okay, settle down. And like, no, you're wrong, and all this kind of stuff. There comes a point where you get a skin full of that and you go, actually, I am sick to death of making those videos.
It's exhausting. I've done a couple of them, and
Yeah.
it's I just don't like it. I hate it. It is an act. I'm completely with you. I would way rather have fun conversations like this.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the thing. Then you go to your back office and your YouTube, don't you? And you look at your metrics and you go, okay, what got views? What did people enjoy? What did they comment on? What did they react to? What did they respond to passionately? It wasn't a nice discussion. It wasn't an educational piece. It was me ragging on somebody.
Yeah.
Anyway, I took a break from it. Anyway, I took about a month out and I was like, I'm not doing that at this stage. I don't want to do that. I want to make other styles. So I basically was just doing discussions with people for about a month. My numbers tanked.
Wow.
Just about. So in the last few weeks, I've gone, okay, right. That's a message that I had best heed. So I made a few more who's wrong on the interwebs videos, and I put some good hooks in them, I think, and I made them as subversive as possible, stopping short of where I used to go, thinking, okay, well, let's just try doing this without with the humor, with the sarcasm, absolutely, with the knowledge base behind it, yes, absolutely, but taking the absolute the most, should we say, the most passionate parts of that performance out, including all the cursing, just to see whether, the style still works. And it does. I've put, I think it's 4 videos now. And every one of them is in the top 10 of my last several months worth. So clearly that's the message. That's what people want to see. So I just need to suck it up and make some more Who's Wrong on the Interwebs videos and play that character a bit more.
Yeah, I love them because after you've been, I feel like in the carnivore space, that's where most people get their information is from podcasts and is from audios, right? And over the years, like I've listened to about every carnivore podcast that you can find that's worth listening to, and it kind of gets old after a while. And so having some having the jokes in, having the roasts in, having the exciting stuff in, that always re-engages me whenever my brain like starts to wander within all the scientific stuff. And I find that I can learn a lot more effectively when there's cursing in it, when you do the act. So thanks for doing those in addition to your strictly educational content. Those 4 things that you were mentioning earlier, would you mind elaborating on that a little bit more?
Oh, sure.
I'm really
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
So in order of contribution, I think, to one's overall anti-inflammatory lifestyle package, this is my educated guesswork on it. With the number of people that I've dealt with over the years, I think it's a pretty decent sample that I'm working from here. Here is what I have found at large. So this is a generalization. Your mileage will vary. Number 1, a 100% carnivore diet consisting of largely muscle meat and associated fat of mostly large ruminant animals, plus or minus dairy on a case-by-case basis, depending on whether that person does well on dairy or not, obviously. Plus or minus eggs, same argument. Pretty much rinse and repeat. You don't need to go looking for organ meats. You don't need to eat a certain amount of organ meats. You don't need to eat any ears, noses, or bum holes. None of this nose to tail stuff. You just need to eat muscle meat and the fat that comes with that. Probably add some additional fat for most cuts of meat, in which case what I do personally is I add a lot of butter. Right. Okay.
Good.
So that's the dietary side of it. Very simple. No need to overcomplicate it whatsoever.
Do you sorry, yeah. Do you ever find that some people do better or worse with butter?
It's rare that someone would react negatively to butter, except in a person who decides, I'm going carnivore tomorrow without doing a proper ramp change to their diet, just doing this big stepwise hammer over, tomorrow I'm carnivore. Ha. And now I'm going to eat sticks of butter at a time because that's what we carnivores do because I'm in the club now. No. Your body isn't ready for that. And it will reject said extra, I can promise you, probably quite with some volition, basically. So don't do that. Change your diet from whatever it is. If you're going to change your diet, changing it from whatever it is now to whatever you want it to be in the future, do that slowly over weeks.
Very good.
That's for free. There you go.
Thanks. Yeah, I was curious on the butter because I cut it out recently, and a couple other of my clients cut it out recently. And I've been 100% strict lion diet, absolutely nothing besides red meat and water and salt over the last week. And my wife pointed out that my acne on my forehead was clearing up, and I think it's pretty much gone now. So that's the only thing that I've noticed, but yeah, I don't particularly miss it. I've just been using a little bit of tallow in place of it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not crucial what the source of the extra fat is, so long as the extra fat is animal-based fat and not vegetable-based fat.
For sure.
And there are reasons why that's, which are covered elsewhere in great detail, so we won't go into that today.
Okay.
So whether it's lard, tallow, ghee, even for some people that, the rare person that can't have whole butter, even if you give them ghee, often that's fine. Because the clarification process seems to remove the irritant
I think it's higher in MCTs too. So for those
Sure.
people that are particularly
Sure, yeah.
concerned about getting into ketosis, maybe it's easier.
Yeah. Although, I mean, we could, that's a whole other rabbit hole that we could go anytime you like, Colt, whether that's today or not is neither here nor there, but the whole ketosis rabbit hole. We could have a whole session on that in terms of, should you be worried about being in ketosis? Should you chase being in ketosis? What's that all
Okay.
about?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Actually, I would like to touch on that. So maybe we should come back to it if we have time.
sure.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually just about limitless on time. I've got another appointment later this afternoon, but I can sit here for hours if you want. Well, anyway.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going anywhere either then. So yeah, no, I'm on your time.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So anyway, that was number one, the carnivore diet on my list of 5. And
Right.
and let's be clear on this. That is the most of this battle. Right there, just that item number 1.
Mhm.
So everything beyond number 1, I have found to be a definite, very meaningful contributor, but each one of them fades away in importance contribution-wise from there. That said, this is not a negotiable hierarchy. Well, I think I'll do 1 and 3. I won't bother with 2 though. And, or maybe I'll do 1 and 2, but that number 5, I don't think I'll bother with that sort of thing.
Yep.
If you do that, if you start negotiating with it, while those things contribute less than the diet by itself, it's a hard thing to predict what the penalty is that you individually will receive from on high for having transgressed in such a way. So here we go. Right, number 2 is a nutraceutical product. I'm not going to call it a supplement because on the carnivore diet, supplementation is not necessary. Nutritional supplementation.
Correct.
While this particular product does contain 1 or 2 things that are claimed to be of nutritional value in some way, and while the company itself labels the product a nutritional supplement, precisely because the FDA requires them to describe the product in some way, and nutraceutical doesn't seem to exist on their list. Apparently, is my understanding of it anyway. What is a nutraceutical? A nutraceutical is a substance which has a clear, demonstrable, scientifically established effect on the human body that may be of some benefit to that human body as kind of a hack, if you like, rather than something that just provides something of nutritional value, which is important, absolutely. But the carnivore diet supplies everything we need. There is nothing lacking in the carnivore diet. So as such, I tend to ignore these little, it says it's got antioxidants in it, for example, and bits and bobs and whatever else. Don't care. Not interested in that for this product range. I'm talking about a product called Cerule, a company called Cerule, Cerule, for which I can supply you with the direct linkage that takes you to my shop front. Or if you want a shop of your own, Colt, you can have one too, and that you can give people yours. And then everybody wins. Here's what this stuff is. It is an extract derived from a blue-green cyanobacteria that lives in this one lake in this particular format. And it happens to be Upper Klamath Lake in Oregon.
Oh,
Whatever.
So it's like a rock. So it's a rock's throw for me. Actually, I just moved to Joliet, Montana. So I think I probably lived like a rock's throw from it, and now
Excellent.
I live several rock's throws away.
So this lake is this volcanic lake. So there's a heap of nutrient being percolated up through that lake. And this particular species of cyanobacter does very well there because it has everything it needs to do its magics, basically. Serendipitously, it turns out that this particular cyanobacter has this substance in its biology that makes this stuff, which has the effect on the human body of causing your bone marrow to release adult stem cells. you have this supply of these adult stem cells in your bone marrow. You're born with a number of them, and you'll die with the same number, actually, pretty much, unless you get irradiated at some point in your life and it kills them. So avoiding that, you can't run out of these things.
Okay.
What do? They repair and renew body tissues of all kinds all around your body, basically. Anything that's diseased, worn, dysfunctional for any reason, these stem cells can replace cells anywhere around your body with brand new ones, basically. Wow. Wow, until you go, well, that's the normal process. That's how our bodies renew and repair themselves. That's been going on since the beginning.
Okay.
Here's what happens, though. Every year that you're alive, your ability to release your own stem cells into your bloodstream so that they can go and do stuff drops. Why?
Why does it drop?
Exactly. Why does that happen? Well, it's part of the great plan, and it's one of the reasons why our lifespan here on Earth is limited. It's supposed to happen. That's the design.
Okay.
What we're doing with this product is we're going, okay, rules understood. We have a limited lifespan. We get that. However, we can, it seems, almost directly affect the likelihood that our lifespan will be longer. Why do I say that? Well, when an adult stem cell finds an old body cell that needs replacing, binds to it, starts to differentiate into the new cell and dissolves the old cell and gets rid of all the detritus and stuff, that new cell, full-length telomeres. That cell has a biological age of 0.
Oh. Now I think I see why this works.
Yep. So, wow. Anyway, that's the stuff. And we'll give you linkage. Basically, those of you watching this fine video will
please do. I'll put that in the link to this podcast
Absolutely.
as well.
And so people, basically what I'm saying is there are 3 or 4 main oral supplementation nutraceutical products that this company runs. I say to people, look, I believe there are 4 of these products that work synergistically that a person should take on a daily basis. And I can give you all the advice you need on that behind the scenes if you want to get in contact to sort that out. But basically,
so for bodybuilders like myself and like people that I'm training that are hardworking bodybuilders that may or may not be shortening their lifespans because they're bodybuilding, this might offset that and help them live longer. Got it.
There is the potential for that. However, the FDA requires me to say that this product is not designed to diagnose, prevent, or cure any particular condition or complaint of any kind, and blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that the FDA, requires you to say on that. We are not allowed to claim therapeutic benefit. However, if you understand the science of how this stuff works and what it does, you can't help but draw your own conclusions. Wow, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, man, I trust you way more than I'll ever trust the FDA, so I'm not worried about that.
The second product that the Cerebral company runs that's very important is a powerful, naturally occurring anti-inflammatory. And given that this is an anti-inflammatory protocol, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, that's why that one's also quite so important. The anti-inflammatory that the Cerebral company runs knocks down LOX2 and COX-5 pathways. I think it was from memory.
Someone just commented and said, "Never trust the FDA." Laugh emoji.
Cool. Nonetheless, we are bound by their dictates in this regard, and we cannot claim therapeutic benefit from taking any cerebral products. We can just say it does what it says it does. Here is the peer-reviewed evidence conducted independently and published in the journals that says, oh, look, you swallow these pills and your stem cell release goes up transiently. Cool. And so more resources for stem cells means that they're more likely to find the tissues that need them and bind to them and all of that. And before an adult stem cell differentiates, what it also does, I forgot to tell you, is it sends out messages calm down over here, inflammation. This is cool. We'll be there soon. Don't panic. Alarm registered. Everything's cool. Turn down all that inflammation. The other thing that they can do is they can actually send messages across to cancerous cells, giving those cells the instruction to self-destruct.
Wow.
So anyway, enough said on this rule. Go and check it out for yourselves to the link that will be in the show notes underneath later on.
Yep, it'll be in the show notes underneath. You got it.
Excellent. And then you can go and check it out for yourself. All the information's there on the website. And if you're still not convinced, go back to my YouTube channel and look at a playlist of videos called Adult Stem Cell Related Videos or something very similar to that. That's number 2 in importance, I think. Very much number 2 in importance. Number 3, the first time you hear it, you go, well, that's crazy. I did. My scientifically thinking brain scientifically went, that's crazy. Immediately, that sounds like rubbish. I'm not having that, I said. And the person said to me, oh, well, here's the peer-reviewed literature such that it is on this. So we know, yes, all right, I can.
That was probably that was probably somebody very, very smart and well-educated like Lane Norton or Paul Saladino that recommended that to you, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't, actually. Basically, what we're talking about is we're talking about this habit called grounding or earthing.
I was hoping we would get into this topic. Good. Yes. I actually have some questions for you on grounding. Excellent. I've been listening to you talk about grounding a lot lately, actually.
All right. So do you want to dive straight to questions, or do you want me to outline what grounding is for anyone that may have had their head in the sand?
You know what? Actually, most of our head in the sand, no pun intended. Yeah. So I think that most of our listeners are pretty niched by this point, and so we could probably just skip like the general overview of grounding and maybe get into some questions on it. But
beautiful, hit me.
Yeah, great. Okay, so you have a grounding mouse pad, really? I didn't know there was such a thing.
Well, I'd say mouse pad, but it's actually about 2 foot by 1.
Okay.
So it's actually like a whole desk pad that you can mouse on, but it's a rubber pad with an electrically conducting top layer that will conduct electrons directly to my skin. My hand is on the mat right now.
Yeah.
That mat is connected by a clip-in electrical flex wire, and that wire goes out the window.
Okay.
And it connects at the other end to a metallic stake in the earth outside the house.
Wow.
The other methodology is you can do it by connecting up such grounding equipment to the earth circuitry of your house electrical circuit. Wow. I prefer direct to ground because of the so-called risk of this thing called dirty electricity.
Okay. You said that you sleep grounded too, right?
Yep. Same principle, same kind of mat. It's a rubber mat with an electrically conductive surface on it, and that mat goes under the bed sheet, the fitted bottom sheet, and then body moisture during the night makes the connection through the sheet to the earthing mat. And then the earthing mat is connected to the ground in exactly the same way. It's a wire that goes out the window, and there's a stake at that end of the house in the ground.
Wow. Okay. So how many total hours out of a 24-hour day are you grounded?
Well, given that I sleep and work and sleep, rinse and repeat, and nothing else for your viewing pleasure, you're welcome. Probably 20 of 24 hours, I would say, I am grounded. On average, at least. Yeah. Now, others can't quite make that amount because maybe you have to have other things in your life you have to take care of that make it impractical. But I always say to a person, look, at least you can sleep grounded. Because everybody has to sleep a certain number of hours minimum, or die. So why not be grounded doing that?
That makes so much sense. Because I'm kind of the same way. Like I basically I'm in the office for as long as I have to be in the office, and then anything that I need multiple monitors for, writing a workout plan. I need 3 monitors to write a workout plan. I got their physique on one, I got my database on one, and I got their plan that I'm working on the other one. And so that's something that I can't do. Like that's something I can't do on my laptop. But basically, I save all my emails. I save everything that I could possibly do for that. And then when the weather's good, bam, I'm outside. I'm laying down in the grass, usually petting my dog too. Oh, that's another one. I've heard that that animals, that just simply petting animals, dogs, cats, whatever, that has similar effects to grounding. Is that true, or is that bro science?
Well, I'd be guessing,
Mm-hmm.
but I would suggest that, okay, maybe the psychological benefits might be similar. Patting a dog or a cat, whatever it is, or your pet duck-billed platypus, I don't care. Whatever, whatever gets you through the night.
Yeah, I don't pet him. He's poisonous.
Yeah. Well done. Not many people know that about platypi. Well done. Yeah. They have the male ones have a spike here on the elbow that, nasty, very, very nasty.
It's a weird creature. It's like, is it a reptile? Is it a mammal? It's like, I don't know, man. It's like got a bit of everything on it.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like spare parts. There, blam. Anyway, that's not why you're called. However, grounding. Well, animals that have fur may collect some electrons. They may gather up a static charge. Maybe under some circumstances, but I doubt it. I don't. You can't earth by touching an animal unless that animal is earthed and you are not. In which case, that animal becomes the conduit by which you are earthed, but it doesn't itself serve any other purpose than being the conduit. Much like the copper wire in that thing, I would imagine. So no, I don't think patting an animal will do it.
Okay.
I'm not discouraging the patting of animals at all, by the way. I'm just saying, no, for grounding benefit, I don't think so. I think you need to be grounded.
I feel better every time I pet an animal, whether it's one of my dogs, whether it's my dog or one of our cats, and probably just has nothing to do with grounding.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So number 3 is grounding. What's number 4?
Number 4 also sounds like crystal waving, hairy-legged woo-woo. The first time you hear it as a scientifically minded person, and you go, what a load of rubbish. And then you check it out and you go, oh, it's not. Wrong again. It's not rubbish. This is important. It is the blocking or the disallowing of light of a certain spectrum or color, that's blue, after dark. How do we do it? With orange-colored lenses. When the sun goes down, if there's any artificial source of light that you are experiencing through the eyes after dark, you should be doing that with the blue removed. Turns out that there is a receptor in your eye that detects the level of blue light being received by your eyes, and it's that which helps to regulate your circadian rhythm of awake, asleep, how long is a day, and a bunch of other body processes that hinge off this daily rhythm, this internal clock, if you like. If you're flooding your eyes with light of blue wavelengths after dark through TV screens, computer monitors, your household lighting,
ring lights,
whatever it is, telephones, that is messing up that circadian clock, and it's convincing your body that it's still daytime. Daytime's long finished. That messes things up. So in terms of inflammation and everything, basically. So it's important to do that. Don't be fooled by getting these lenses that purport to be blue blocking lenses for use at computers and whatever else. This blocks the blue, they say, but doesn't distort the color. Clear lenses. Now, let's go back with physics here.
Yeah,
Just
because I have some clear lens blue light blocking glasses,
okay.
and I was
Let's
using them
see the
for a
physics.
while, and I did not notice. I use an Aura ring,
Yeah.
and I've noticed an improvement in my sleep quality when I ground. I've noticed an
Mm.
improvement in my sleep quality when I make love with my wife. I'll say it. I'll notice it. I just get a better night's sleep, bro.
Mm.
But the blue light blocking glasses, I haven't been sold on it.
Mm.
But I've noticed that Jonathan Griffiths from the UK and a number of other it's funny. It's the carnivores that are all into the blue light blocking glasses.
Mm.
But it seems but they're all wearing orange.
Yeah. Now, there's a reason for it. Here's the physics. What you perceive coming into your eye in terms of the color spectrum that's coming into your eye, that means that your eye is receiving photons at that wavelength to tell you that that color is there. And that's what your brain interprets as that color in that spectrum. So, clear lenses that block blue, that's impossible. Because if it was blocked, then the color of the lens itself would be amber. Has to be amber. I think they get away with it because those clear lenses, what they're doing is blocking a selected range of the blue, a very particular range of the blue, but most of it's still there. Oh, we're not distorting the color. Well, you're also not going to get the effect with clear lenses. They must be dark orange in color.
That makes sense.
That's the physical reality of it, and there's no way around it. Sorry about that.
Great.
Cool.
Good stuff. Wonderful. Thank you for that. That is
Now,
four keys to a successful long carnivore diet. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, so far four, and there's number 5 to come, but it's I call them anti-inflammatory lifestyle hacks. I really need to come up with a better slogan. Maybe make it a competition. Comment under this video. What do you think we should call these? That? I mean, hacks sounds negative, doesn't it? Like when you call someone a hack. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my journal right now, and so after this recording, I'll start brainstorming ideas and let you know if I come up with anything creative.
Good. Yes, lovely.
Awesome. Okay. If I could follow up since our last talk, please. So I have not tracked calories personally since then. I feel free. I feel it's been about 5 or 6 months since then. I was loosely tracking protein only until now, and fats to satiety. I was able to get lean enough to guest pose. I was told that I was in respectable guest posing condition. If I was actually going to compete, I would have for sure wanted to drop another 5 or 10 pounds. This is the easiest, the most satiated that I've ever felt while cutting. I've been steadily maintaining my conditioning and building lean muscle since then, just fine. I've been, and actually lately, my current project is no macro counting. So I'm on a strict lion diet right now. I was probably about 90% lion until Jake Thomas last week told me that I was a very good B+ student for having accomplished that. And that didn't sit very well with me. So I decided to become an A+ student since then. So I've cut out caffeine. I've cut out artificial sweeteners. I've cut out absolutely everything that is not just nothing but red meat, water, and salt. I'm finding it kind of pointless to track macros right now because like every day is something different. I'm doing one meal a day. Sometimes it's venison, sometimes it's lamb, sometimes it's beef. And I'm just using 3 pounds total a day, like as a ballpark. So basically I'm stuffed after I finish that. And then I wake up in the morning. Takes me about an hour or two to be able to feel like I'm ready to train. And that's been working just absolutely fine. I'm actually losing weight doing that right now. No idea how much protein I'm eating. I could be eating 200 grams. I could be eating 400 grams. I literally don't have a clue. So, we've been doing that with a lot of our athletes, but not to the extent of not tracking protein. Here again, this is just kind of my project. Yeah. Our competitors are still following strict macros. Anyone that doesn't have a show coming up soon is on less strict or no macros at all, if the purpose is simply to build muscle. So I guess my question for you, well, do you have any thoughts, or is it okay if I?
No, barrel ahead. Give me a question.
Okay.
Is there a question coming soon, Your Honor?
Okay, so for muscle hypertrophy, aka bodybuilding, do you ever recommend? And I know you're not a bodybuilding coach, nor are you particularly a fan of bodybuilding, for what I understand. Um, do you ever recommend tracking fat and protein intake, or would you put your money on the athlete that eats strictly by intuition?
I tend to instigate tracking and adherence to tracking programs and the disciplines involved in that to folks who have presented with a problem. I am very much of the mindset that things that ain't broke probably don't need too much fixing up.
Mm-hmm.
So while ever a person is feeling well, training well, competing well, doing life well, is happy, content, sleeping, waking, working, loving, laughing, it's all happening, doesn't need fixing.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, people that come to me for a clinical session, they generally have at least one issue or complaint or, this isn't working right, in which case we need to track because we need to get them back on track, starting at the average set point. Here's where I start generally.
Mm-hmm.
And then n equals 1 with a person playing around up and down with the various fat and protein, because there's an individual range that's going to be ideal. So we find that person's ideal protein and fat ratio through a bit of experimentation over a few months, really, because it takes a while to do this. And once we've got that, and we get the person following a regimen of doing that for basically 21 days, now you've formed a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can go to the instinctual message that your body gives you that tells you how much to eat of fat and protein.
During that 21 during that 21 days, during that 21 days is probably a lot of self-discovery, huh? Where you learn your body and you figure out where your macros are at. And then after that 21 days is what you're saying, that you know your body well enough to be able to begin to eyeball it, just go to weighing out your food. And so that you're using more or less a consistent amount every day, but not tracking and following the macros as like complete gospel.
Correct. Because once you've worked out where you sit individually on the spectrum and what works for you, once you've been 6 months or more without any significant carb in your diet, your instinctual hunger and satiety messaging will be bang on for that day, meaning across time it will be bang on.
And
the thing that messes that up for people is carbs. Carbs is what destroys that.
Unless you're going through maybe like a real stressful time in life, or if you're for whatever reason doing a lot of low intensity cardio, I mean, that kind of stuff will ramp up your appetite aside from diet, right?
Yeah, that'll mess you up. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. We'll cover that when we do number 5 though. So that's good.
Right on. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Can we go into number 5?
Well, when you're ready. I mean, I thought we were just leaving the people hanging so that they watch more of the video.
No, I thought I thought number 5 was like intellectual property and we weren't allowed to talk about it yet. I'm sorry.
No,
we can go into point number 5. That was a misunderstanding.
Here's what it is.
Okay.
A person, any given person, the average person, should undertake 4 sessions per week of 45 to 60 minutes in total of very high intensity burst and repeat and or resistance training activities with either fixed or with elastic based resistance. And the methodology depends on the method that you're going to be using there. But basically we're talking about high intensity, high end of the spectrum activity, probably with the intensity such at least that the work to rest ratio would be 1 to 5 in the sprint repeats.
Okay.
And if you're using resistance training with fixed weights, I'm talking about 2 working sets of 8 rep maximum sort of resistance weight for the average person. And not training on consecutive days is important. But for me, that is the kind of level of getting your body involved with the world that a person should undertake on a weekly basis. And when I say high intensity, what I mean is relative to your fitness level, of course.
Okay.
Now, obviously, bodybuilders, different story in terms of what they need to do, but that's what an average person needs to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too far away from that. So the last time that we talked, I was doing, I was literally doing an hour of low intensity cardio every single day, 7 days a week. And I'd been doing that for a year. And so when you told me, and when Steven and Richard Smith from the UK all told me to knock it off with the low intensity cardio, I thought, I was like, you kidding me? That goes against every bodybuilder's advice that I've ever talked to in my entire life. And so I went off of the low intensity cardio. I was scared to death that I was going to gain weight, and I did, but it wasn't fat. It was muscle. I was able to build muscle a lot faster. Like my legs are growing now. I've never seen my legs grow this fast. And I've been doing nothing for cardio since then, except for, I'm sorry, I know you'll probably say that I'm mentally ill because of this, and you may be right. But I go for 1 10K run every single week.
Okay.
So
all right. I'm not against that necessarily.
All right.
In your case. Now, if a person came to me and said, yes, I'm exercising, but what I'm doing in total, my entire exercise program is I run 10Ks a week, then I would say to them, no, not the approach.
Correct.
Yeah. And yes, it is a mental illness. And yes, it is completely unnecessary unless you're in an occupation or sporting involvement or whatever as a person that would require you to run at a fairly steady pace for a distance of 10K at a time for any reason.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, military examples, there's a book called Doctrine that talks about movement of troops, and it says troops will move under these ground conditions, given different categories, at this speed over time. And that is precisely so that command can plan and move troops, and they know that those troops can move at that pace. That's what they're given. So that's an example of where that might be useful. To suggest, however, to say a fireman that they must have 10K road running fitness to be a fireman is absolute rubbish.
Oh, yeah.
There is no backing for that.
Yep.
So in your case, as someone whose primary goal, correct me if I'm wrong, is hypertrophy, muscle building, then the running is contraindicated for you and you should not do it.
Oh, yeah. I'm very well aware of that. I'm also a track and football coach, and running is something that I love doing. It's something that my dog and I can do together. So that's the reason that we do it. But I know for sure that my legs would be growing faster if I was not running.
Yeah, sure. So there's that. Same argument for a football player. You might say a football player runs 10Ks or moves 10Ks during a football match, just for a number.
No, it just needs to be. It's all high intensity, short bursts for football.
Exactly. So saying that a footballer covers 10 kilometers during a match, therefore you should be able to run 10 kilometers is rubbish. Because when have you ever seen a football match where the ball was in play continuously and there were no breaks for 45 minutes or so to run 10Ks? Yeah. When does that happen in a football game?
I don't know, man. You got to come see my little guy team. Those scores go high, and they're running all the way down the field.
Yeah, they're going in every direction. These little ankle biters.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so basically, 4 sessions of 45 to 60 minutes a week. That sounds very similar to. I mean, that's exactly like Dorian Yates style training. Is what that is.
It's not dissimilar.
Yeah. So I've reduced my workouts from about 2 hours a session to 45 minutes to an hour. I have not trained more than an hour. Yeah, I've reduced my workouts from 6 days a week to 5 days a week now too. And I like what you said about not doing about trying to have a rest day between every training session too, because there's times where it's just like 2 days in a row, upper body day, lower body day. I'm like, man, I can't hit upper body again, but I got to do it because I got to get my 5 days in. I take my rest day in the middle of the week. Usually I'll do my 10K then, and then finish my last couple workouts on the weekend. My wife and pretty much everybody that we're training is doing everything exactly like that too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously that's a different program, the muscle hypertrophy program. That's a different program to the anti-inflammatory effect program, which is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this one gives you information for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is, also in my exercise program, 4 sessions a week for the anti-inflammatory effect thing that you'll get from it overall. And actually, there's a bunch of other gains in doing this as well, but that's for another day. Mm-hmm. What you'll find is that there are no splits in there. It's whole body every time, which is why I say workout, rest day, workout, rest day, workout, rest day, because we're not doing push-pull, we're not doing upper body, lower body, we're doing whole body every session, 4 times a week.
Wow. Okay. So this is not for muscle hypertrophy. This is not for muscle growth. This is for anti-inflammation.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been considering moving my split more towards full body workouts too. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of what my body's been telling me since I've transitioned to 1 meal a day strict lion diet.
Cool. So in that session, you have maybe 10 to 12 exercises, 2 sets of each, 2 working sets of each, 8 rep maximum. So fail on the 9th, sort of weight range. Big compounds, obviously, to get head to body done in as few exercises as that. I tended, when I was doing this, to start at the bottom of my body and just work up and do it that way. But I mean, however it doesn't matter. The thing is, the 2 working sets are not first set, sit on the bench, have a look around, see who looks good in lycra, have a drink, think about your life, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later, stand up and do set 2. No.
That's powerlifting.
You do all of your exercises one after the other, superset the whole lot, go back to the top and start again. So there's no sitting on the bench, none at all. You're doing 2 circuits of the same circuit. Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing circuit training then. How do you manage your breath work while you do that? That always seems to be my limiting factor. So I'm a big fan of supersets, as a matter of fact. Okay, so every single workout
that's my cardiovascular training, Colt. When I'm doing cardiovascular training, but people think the way to build cardiovascular fitness is from below
the whole time. I'm sorry.
People think that the way to build cardiovascular fitness is from below in terms of the intensity. Sit where you can be comfortable, sit in this nice zone, approximate the top range of that so-called zone, but never actually push yourself very hard. Long, slow distance type 2 training. That's how people think you get fit. Rubbish.
Correct.
No, that's not how you get fit. You get fit by pushing your current capacity beyond its limit. With sensible volume.
Nate and I just debunked that anecdotally too. So he's on the strict lion diet. He's if it was his physique against my physique right now, I wouldn't stand a chance. This is hands down a better athlete than I am. I'm so proud of this guy. He has not done a step of cardio his entire prep. He is bone shredded. He's on the carnivore diet actually because he has Crohn's disease. So he's strict lion. We actually just cut out butter. And his he hasn't done any cardio. The diet has done literally everything for him because he has followed it absolutely perfect to a T. His workouts are very similar to what you're describing, other than they're more supersets than they are a circuit the way that you do it.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not adverse to that too. If you want a superset, if that works better for you, fine. However, mostly a superset works on the same muscle group. Whereas in my approach for the anti-inflammatory effect, for the general fitness and other benefits I'm talking about, really, because you're sort of limited to 10 to 12 exercises and you've got to cover the whole body every time, you're really only doing one big compound for each muscle group. You're not focusing on muscle groups and working that way. So.
Okay. Yeah. The supersets that we do, I guess just a note on terminology. We're doing opposing muscle supersets always, never, never really the same muscle, never really the same muscle, unless there's just like, I don't know, unless I feel like pre-fatiguing my hamstrings before doing a deadlift or something. So
right, got it. Cool,
wonderful. Okay, going from what you're describing, which is back to point number one, sticking to mainly muscle meats, and how there can be some dairy, there can be some eggs depending on the person. So when I was interviewing Jake Thomas last week, what sold me on the Lion diet was he goes, until you remove eggs and dairy, you're never really truly zero carb. And once you go strict Lion, which is just muscle meats from ruminant animals, that at that point you become zero carb, assuming that you're not eating, I guess, liver, because there's some carbs in liver, which I have had a little bit this last week. I'm just kind of curious as to what your opinion is on that, and if there's any advantages to eliminating absolutely everything that has even trace carbs that small.
When you look at nutrition tables for the carbohydrate content of red meat, it will say 0. What that means is less than 1. It doesn't actually mean 0. And red meat is not carbohydrate free. There is a small amount in there.
Interesting.
Well, when you think about it, muscles store glycogen, don't they?
Yeah.
That's where the carb is, in the meat. It's in the stored glycogen in the meat. So you can't, there's no such thing as a carb-free diet.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. Unless you lived entirely on fat, in which case you wouldn't live long.
So you're going from like 2% carbs to 1% carbs, basically.
Or whatever it is. I don't know what the numbers are. We could sit down and work it out at some point, but yeah.
Something like that. Okay.
Sure, there are people who want to be extreme about whatever they're involved in. And that includes diet. We know this. We know that there are extremists in the diet debate on both ends of the spectrum. You know,
is that something that you ever recommend, is going to the extent of cutting out eggs and cutting out everything for any reason?
The amount of carbs that you'll find in eggs, very, very limited. Very limited, really. Sure, it's more than meat, but it's still not going to affect you in a negative way. Milk, it really depends, because milk has a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah,
inherently.
So does sour cream. I had no idea until I was like,
sure.
why am I not in ketosis anymore? I was like, whoa, there's a lot of carbs in this. I had no clue.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, ketosis again. There's that.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah. But no, personally, I don't consume any milk. Not because it's got sugar in it, by the way. I don't consume milk because I'm one of those that doesn't do well on milk. So the dairy that I consume is like yogurt, cheese, butter.
Yeah.
But not actual sugary stuff.
And you digest the cheese okay, right? Because whenever I eat cheese, I notice I can't poop like until a half hour after I wake up. And it's really annoying. Otherwise, I'm just like you, one and done first thing in the morning every single day without effort.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a message that your body's giving you, that cheese isn't ideal for you, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with cheese.
Okay. Yeah.
I also don't eat a lot of cheese because, as I said earlier, 80% of the intakes is beef and beef fat that came with it, with butter. Salt. I had salt. Did I say that before? I had salt as well. That's it.
Awesome. Okay. Ketosis. So that's something that so I track it every single day. And I really don't care. It's It's data. I like data. I just like as much data as I can have. I'm not chasing numbers or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever advocate to track whether you're in ketosis for any reason?
I don't. No, I don't. Here's the thing for me that most people seem to get lost in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
The ketogenic diet is called the ketogenic diet because one of the ramifications of such a diet is that you will spend an amount of your time in ketosis, perhaps to a higher level than you would otherwise. That doesn't mean that's the goal of the thing, the ketones. Now, there are some people that want to rave on about the benefits of ketones per se. Ketones are beneficial, a lot of people are saying. That's an argument for another day, and it's an argument that there are good answers for.
Okay.
However, the goal of the ketogenic diet for most people is in its known effect of tending to reduce the amount of body fat that person has over time. That's the goal, not the ketogenesis. The ketogenesis is by the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So is the actual loss of fat, by the way. It happens.
I heard Dr. Chafee say that that being in ketosis will increase your metabolic rate by 30%. If someone's goal is to lose fat, then would it be a good idea to try to be in ketosis at least most of the time?
Well, your body has an internal clock, which we were talking about a little bit earlier with the blue light thing to make that connection back again.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another example of where it's important. If your basal metabolic rate is more rapid, then your cells, every living cell in your body, will live faster, meaning it will go through its life cycle of division numbers faster. Its telomere will get to that critical length where it will no longer divide and becomes senescent, basically, faster, i.e., effectively, that has the potential to reduce your lifespan in terms of time on the clock, years of living.
So purposefully being in a ketogenic state for too long could have some negative effects, is what I'm gathering. Okay.
Potentially. I've just given one potential avenue where that might be an issue.
Okay.
Other issues that tend to associate with people who chase ketones and who want to be in ketosis and who post questions every week on Facebook groups. Will this kick me out or will that kick me out? Sort of questions, those kind of people. You know, they tend over time to drift towards metabolic problems, mostly as a result of being in ketosis too much tends to mess with the thyroid a bit. And then the knock-on effects from that are.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that. My wife and I were both, this was last year. We were both in ketosis like all day, every day for a while. And she started noticing some hair loss after a while. So that's when I'm sure this was the last time we were talking, so you probably don't remember, but I basically doubled her protein intake and halved her fat intake, and so I was getting her into gluconeogenesis on purpose to kick her out of ketosis without adding carbs into her diet.
Yes.
And I think if I remember correctly, you weren't a fan of that idea of purposely chasing gluconeogenesis.
For the purpose you're talking about there's no issue with it. I don't think I would have said
no. I'm sorry. You were not a fan of me using it for bodybuilding purposes. That was a different client. That was Alex.
Right.
Because we were doing keto for like 3 days and then high protein for 3 days, and his inflammation was not good on those high protein days. So we learned our lesson the hard way on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. No, it's definitely. I mean, it's the sort of tool I would use myself if I found that someone had been a devotee of the ketogenic lifestyle for the sake of ketones for some reason. rather than focusing on what the actual goal was, which was to lose body fat,
Yeah.
then often you might find you have to do something like what you've just said to actually kickstart the system back into life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I've been telling everybody basically is because I have people that, you know, are just kind of what you were saying, like, hey, I'm not in ketosis. What's wrong with my diet? And I'm like, there's probably nothing wrong with your diet. Like, are you getting the results you want? Yeah, but I'm not in ketosis. Okay. Is your goal to look a certain way, or is your goal to blow numbers on a ketone device and so you can pat yourself on the back? And,
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like I have a discount code for this device too. So like I get paid when people buy it, and I tell people, like, don't buy it unless you're just a nerd and you like me and you want all the data that you can. But like it is definitely not something that you need.
Correct.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you. A question on fasting. So fasting is a tool that we've not used much. I haven't used it very much. I'm just curious. I've had some bad experience attempting to do intermittent fasting in the past before transitioning to a meat-based diet, and that basically contributed to me having an eating disorder. So fasting is, for that reason, is something that I never ever recommend. I just try to get people I just try to get people to eliminate carbs and to follow a meal plan that supports intermittent fasting, because I find that once you have, like, to your point, those 5 keys that we were talking about earlier, that's why that first one has to be the lead domino, because then everything else kind of falls into place after it, and people will start fasting by intuition. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on that. Like, how do you fast intuitively, and does everybody need to fast?
Got it. Okay. For me, I'm probably maybe a lone voice in the wilderness, I don't know. But if you're talking about any period of time less than about 72 hours, you are not even talking about fasting.
Okay.
Fasting starts after the 3rd day of not putting food in, for me. The reason I use that operational definition is because that's about the time frame to get your body's fasting reactive genome up and running and get your body systems geared up to do what they do best while fasting. As such, I personally have used 3 to 5 day fasts as a tool when indicated on a case-by-case basis with people. The typical benefits being anti-inflammatory effect. There it is again. Although you'll notice it's not in my top 5. So that tells you how important it is in that regard in my mind.
Okay.
And its scope of usage, because this is very, very limited.
Right.
I should caveat all of this by saying all of this kind of here is what I do with people type discussion is a generalized person. This is not a person with special needs. A person with any kind of eating disorder is a person with special needs who needs specialist help.
I would 100% agree with that. I was looking for help when I was in the midst of that. So it's been kind of a year, and I just attribute it to talking to people like you, Steven, and recording podcasts on this kind of stuff for about a year to get to be able to move on past that.
Yeah. So that covers that one off. This is the sort of thing that I might do with a person who otherwise presents as not having such problems in terms of eating disorders, whatever. So it's anti-inflammatory if they need that. A person who has a lot of body fat to lose, fasting can be an important tool in kickstarting that process of getting that melting off. It turns out that this is another way of getting stem cells released as well, fasting after about 3 days. Not as many as the Cereal product, let's be clear on that, it seems, but it is, your body will, okay, here's a bolus of stem cells after a period of fasting. And there's this thing called autophagy, where the body starts to, it's autophagy literally translated as self-eating. So you have these cells in your body that scavenge around and find detritus bits of cells that are no longer working anymore, rubbish, whatever else, gobbles that stuff up and carries it away. And it's a cleanup and renewal and repair type process. that runs alongside the stem cell thing. And it also seems like a person's immune system can actually do a hard Control-Alt-Delete under the influence of fasting. So if you've got someone with severe autoimmune dysfunction, one or more periods of fasting can be helpful in flicking that switch back and actually alleviating that person's autoimmune condition in some cases. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's what fasting means. If you're talking about just not eating for a period of number of hours every day and eating, that's not fasting. That's just not eating during those hours. It seems that the biological design is that people eat once a day on days that they're eating. Because we go and hunt mammoth, we get a mammoth, we joyfully feast and have, that mammoth for maybe a week or two at one meal a day, depending. Then that's done with. We might not get another mammoth for a bit. There might be a couple of weeks of very, very lean pickings, maybe some roots out of the ground or a few berries during the 2 weeks that berries are ripe, perhaps. But otherwise, we're just not eating because we don't have any mammoth just now. But that's cool because the mammoth we had a couple of weeks ago in such large amounts was so nutrient dense and had everything we needed. So that's cool. That's the design. Not graze like plant eating animals and eat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day.
Correct.
So it's not a problem.
Yeah, I'll have people that they're making the transition to being meat based, and they're like, okay, but I can never do. But they'll say I can never do intermittent fasting. I can't do 2 meals a day. I have to have 5 meals a day. I'm like, okay, I'll write them a plan with just to make them happy, basically, with 5 meals a day that has meat in every single meal. And then like 2 days later, I get a phone call. Hey, I'm kind of feeling this 1 or 2 meals a day thing now. and so I guess I'm curious if you've noticed the same thing. Is that when people go meat based, like you don't want a snack anymore.
That's right, and it's very simple. Why that is very simple. The reason for it is this: when you eat a carbohydrate based diet, inherently, because you are doing that, your blood sugar control and the mechanisms that support that blood sugar control are always off whack, and you will do that with your blood sugar. It varies up and down, and it's the down dip that causes you to have to pour sugar in again before your next dip caused by the insulin response and all of that kind of stuff. On a diet that's devoid of exogenous carbohydrate, your blood glucose level will be remarkably stable. Thus, that signal that you need to eat takes 24 hours to build up while your blood sugar drops ever so slowly over that time, to the point that your homeostatic set point, the message goes back to your brain, geez, Colt, it would be quite nice to eat right now. You're quite hungry. Then you sit down to some meat and fat and go, nom, 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 and your body is actually metering this. It knows you've got enough on board, and it then sends you a message, Colt, you can stop eating now. We're done.
Yeah. And then sometimes if it's been like a particularly stressful day, or if I spent just like way too much time on the computer, I can tell. I'm like, okay, I've eaten 2 pounds of meat and I'm still hungry. No, there's no way. And so I'll give it 5 minutes. So I'll give it 5 minutes and I get up and walk around, and then I feel full.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Question for you. Is there any athlete, in your opinion, that would be a better athlete if they went from being strictly meat-based with no exogenous carbohydrate sources and then adding carbohydrates in?
No. If you're talking about the caveat being any given athlete, who has been eating that way with proper discipline for at least 6 months, and their body systems are now equated to that and calibrated to that. So an athlete that's fully fat adapted will not be outperformed by an athlete who is a carb fiend. That doesn't happen.
I've never seen it personally happen either. I just wanted to double check and make sure that
You know,
I'm
but
not crazy.
people that believe that athletic performance without carbohydrates in the diet is impossible are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What they are focused on is the short-term performance decrease you get with an athlete during their transition period, which they almost invariably don't do properly anyway.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected. But then you give that athlete 4 to 6 months and their rebound will be such that usually their performance is the same, at least, if not better than it was on the carbohydrates.
So it takes about 6 months to get to that point.
Yep.
From what you've seen to get to where you're fully fat adapted. What is that? And meat based and used to not having any carbs. Okay. How strict does somebody have to be during those 6 months? If they have, like, if they're 5 months in and they have a Tootsie Roll, do they have to start again?
Well, let's not go crazy. Obviously, we're not advocating for the intake of such things. We are all human beings. We are all vulnerable to being swayed from time to time. And I don't think you need to catastrophize and throw the baby out with the bathwater because on one occasion you might have had a Tootsie Roll. All right, that's not what I'm suggesting. Your application will be one of those things that affect the standard deviation around that 6 months or so. So if you're not someone that adheres well, maybe your journey takes longer. It's the same destination and it's still worth getting there. It just took you longer to walk there, shall we say.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes great sense. Awesome. Okay. Matt from Canada would like to ask, should the lion diet or a strict carnivore diet boost natural testosterone?
It can go either way because a person's testosterone level at any given time is an interactive system of feedback loops. The amount of hormone of any kind that a person's body produces is under the influence of the genes, those genes being capable of reacting to the environment in which they find themselves at that time to optimize what you need right now. Examples of where this can go really badly wrong, for example. You might remember it happened a few years ago and the vegans made a big thing out of it. Sean Baker made a video where he reported that he had a very low T level one morning.
Oh, and they were all over it. Yeah.
They were all over, Sean Baker's got low testosterone. Okay, number one, if you have two eyes and more than one brain cell, you can take a look at Sean Baker and go, 6'5", I believe he is, 250 pounds last time I heard. The man holds 2 world records for physically demanding tasks. One of them is a rowing-based world record, and the other one is a powerlifting-based world record. His rowing world record is open class, not old age men over 50. It's the open class for rowing. And the bloke that he took the world record off was a 30-year-old called Sean Baker. In fact, his own record when he was 30, he beat when he was 50-something. Okay? He's not short on testosterone. Okay? The man is built like a brick outhouse. And anyone that's watched any Sean Baker will see the way the way that man trains physically.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to know why Sean Baker's testosterone might be low one morning when he took a test on one occasion, ask him what he did for training the day before. And that'll answer your question as to why the T might seem low. So again, this is chasing a number often for the sake of chasing a number. It's like saying ketones are beneficial. Are they? Well, you should have a certain level of testosterone. Should you? Let's go back to how you present. Do you have any signs of low testosterone? If you were my client, I would sit down with you and say, okay, let's talk about this. Sure, your number might be off according to some chart that tells you where you should be. However, let's look at how you interact with the universe right now. Are you a person who shows any signs of being lacking in the testosterone department? If not, it's probably not broken.
Wow, very, very good. Someone just commented and said, I love this person's voice. It makes me feel like we have someone dropping super facts on us, kind of like a narrator's voice.
Oh, yes. I've worked on that long and hard. Thank you.
I have to agree. You have a very captivating voice, like you should be doing audiobooks or something.
Oh God, I couldn't think of anything worse.
It's like it demands attention.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt would also like to ask, are there any nutrients missing from a full lion diet, from a full carnivore diet?
No. The one that will be tossed in your face by those of a different theological standpoint on nutrition will say to you, vitamin C, though. That'll be the first place they'll go.
Yeah, but there is vitamin C in meat, right? It's just never really been
Absolutely
tested for.
And as it turns out, funnily enough, there's enough vitamin C in meat if that's all you're eating.
Yeah.
As soon as you add any amount of carbohydrate into your diet, your requirement for vitamin C will go up vastly as a result of that.
Right, which is so dumb because what does everybody say when you get sick? Orange juice. Drink lots of orange juice. No, you're making it a losing battle. It's just canceling each other out. You should the answer is less, not more.
Yeah. So
cool.
No, okay. There's nothing missing from muscle, meat, and fat. I mean, the exact dietary requirement for any plant-based matter at all is none. You can survive perfectly well without a single gram of plant-based material in your diet ever, if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you can do that without the detriment that you will experience if you try the other way, where you eat a diet consisting of no animal materials, only plant-based material. Try that. See how that goes for you. It won't go so well.
Right.
Promise you.
On animal products, on animal foods versus animal-based foods versus plant-based foods. Honey, that's an animal-based food, but it's also a carb. Paul Saladino is kind of a fan of that, and I've been having lots of my clients says, "Hey, Paul Saladino says I can eat this. Paul Saladino says I can eat that." And I'm like, dude, if I hear that guy's name one more time, we're gonna have to have a conversation. And so I guess what I've been noticing is whenever I've had two people now that have reintroduced carbs after being fat adapted for quite some time, and all they reintroduced was berries and honey, because that's what Paul Saladino recommends. Both of them have reported that they don't feel good anymore, and they remove them, and now they feel better. Curious if you have anything to add to that.
I think, Colt, I've been very clear on my feelings regarding the quality of what's coming from the Saladino camp.
Yep.
It's rubbish.
Yep.
There is absolutely no argument whatsoever by which you can justify a significant intake of exogenous carbohydrate in the diet as a human being. There is no benefit. It is not the cure to any problem that's been identified. It will increase the likelihood of a myriad of health concerns hugely. You should not consume any significant amount of exogenous carbohydrates, ideally. There is a price to pay for every gram of carbohydrate that you put into your body. There is no free ride here.
Do you think that some people tolerate it, can get away with it easier than others, and maybe maybe like in his case, okay, like he can do it and it's working for him, or at least now, but
well, it's not working for him patently, clearly, obviously. If you have a look at imagery of Paul Saladino 3 years ago presenting the carnivore diet videos that he was doing, and have a good look at his facial features, the color of his hair, the quality of his skin, his whole bearing, his whole presentation. And you dial forward 3 years of consuming honey and fruit and all sorts of nonsense, and just put the images up side by side and have a look for yourself.
Yeah.
If you think it's working well for him in terms of his health and longevity, well, then I suggest good luck to you. Go and join his theological band of merry honey suppers and fruit garglers or whatever it is. Good luck. But over here in reality, we know that that will be doing you damage, and you should not do that.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people that maybe they're around carbs, or there's something in their diet that's still giving them a sweet craving, or something that's making them want carbs when their body doesn't necessarily need it.
Yep.
I don't think that I didn't get all my sweet cravings and feel like I truly knew my body until I got rid of artificial sweeteners. So actually, I'd like to run this theory by you. I'm curious as to what you think of this.
Yep.
So my theory has been that I have not had sugar in a long time. I'm talking over a year. Okay. But I've had artificial sweeteners every single day, and some days a lot of it, to the point to where it's all I'm drinking, not even clear water. So lots of like Relight, LMNT, like all the popular electrolyte supplements and workout supplements here and there. Never any sugar, but it tastes like sugar. And it's delicious, like really, really, really good, to the point to where when I cut it out, I started experiencing like almost depression, like with withdrawal symptoms. So my theory is that it's addictive in the same way as sugar, but I didn't feel like it was really affecting my body or my biochemistry. It's like, I hate to use this example again, but ketosis, like never knocked me out of ketosis. I'm like, okay, so it's not doing the same thing to my body as sugar is, but I think it was just an addictive tendency, and like a fidgety tendency that was part of my life, that once I got rid of it, I felt like I was able to move on past those sweet cravings. And now I'm at a point to where I'm literally never hungry.
Cool.
Do you think that that's accurate? Like, has it been mostly psychological, do you think?
Yes and no. While an artificial sweetener should not necessarily have any direct effect on your ketone level or detectable ketone level, because it is not sugar, it does, however, not get away from the insulin action effect. Why do I say that? There was a study that was done at the University of Auckland while I was working there. I was involved in a peripheral way in this particular study myself. I wasn't one of the authors on this particular study, but I was intimately aware of its workings and I was involved in the project.
Okay.
Here's what we did. We had some cyclists that came in on several occasions to do cycling related activity, which is fine because we were in the sports department and we were doing sports related nutrition studies and all this kind of stuff. That was kind of where we were going. We wanted to see whether the performance increase a person got immediately after the ingestion of something sweet tasting would be affected by whether that was sugar or whether it was artificial sweetener. That's what we were looking for. But that's beside the point. That doesn't matter here for what I'm going to say. So what I'm going to say is we actually found out something else that was interesting that we weren't expecting necessarily. Here it is. When your taste buds on your tongue, when they sense sweetness, a message goes to your brain, carbohydrate is coming. Forewarning. Send message to release insulin because carb is coming. We taste it here.
And I think there's a dopamine and like a serotonin release or something that comes along with it too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Because I cut out caffeine a long time ago. I have not had caffeine in 6 months, but pre-workout, it was like, I have to have it. I have to have my creatine. I have to have my pump formula. And I haven't had it so the first couple workouts out, man, they sucked. Like, I was mad. I was pissed off. I just didn't want to train. And so it took a few days to just get used to training without having any supplement at all besides just salt and water.
Yes. So when you trace this through, you go, okay, so what's just happened? Your blood sugar's at this level. Your brain receives a message, we can expect an influx of sugar, so we need insulin to keep it steady. But given that the sugar never arrives because the brain's just tasted the sweet and made because your brain doesn't know that sweet isn't sugar. It thinks it is. So it releases some insulin to take care of the sugar that's coming. Only the sugar never arrives, so your blood sugar does what?
Oh, okay. It drops.
Under the insulin that you've just released because of the artificial sweetener.
Yeah.
So now you need to eat something because your blood sugar is low, so you feel hungry. And something sweet would be great because sugar directly would, So let's put something sweet in our mouth again, some more artificial sweetener.
Piece of gum, whatever. Yeah, okay.
Now, I'm exaggerating, obviously, the amount of drop.
Right.
But that's, theoretically, that's what you're doing with artificial sweetener. Yeah.
Cool.
So if a person can get artificial sweetener out of their life, so much the better.
Yeah, I just feel like it's one of those. There's a proverb that a dog shouldn't go back and eat its own vomit. I mean, that's basically what you're doing when you mature in your dietary journey, and then and then revert back. But it's just I think it's one of those things where most people can probably handle it in moderation just fine, or a lot of people can, but I think that there's a lot more beneath the surface that people don't realize, and especially if you have an addictive personality like I do, then you're probably just better off never having it and moving on with your life.
Look, there are two sorts of people, as I'm told, as I understand it. This is not my field of expertise, so I'll defer. But what I'm told is there are two types of people, and they are abstainers and moderators. And you have to, if you are an abstainer, you have to abstain because you have no capacity to moderate. So asking you to do something that's beyond you is unfair. Right. In that case, none for you is the answer.
Yeah. Which are you? Are you an abstainer or a moderator? What's your personality?
I am definitely an abstainer.
Yeah.
Because if I don't abstain, then moderation goes out the window.
Me too.
Within a short period of time.
Yep.
I lack a discipline.
Well, we only have so much willpower. We're human beings at the end of the day.
That's it. Yes.
Okay. Do you find that when you have some, I feel like I feel like we have the exact same goal. Well, I mean, obviously, being a coach, I'm more athletic. I'm kind of more athletic minded than I am health minded, to my detriment at times, which is why we're having this conversation. But our goal is to when we have someone that comes to us that let's just say their diet is all over the place. Is to cut out the things that are causing the most amount of damage first, and eventually gravitate to a point to where you're eating mostly, if not muscle meat, and minimizing carbs and minimizing plants, right?
Yeah.
So, you ever get someone that's about 95% of the way there, and you're just kind of looking over their meal planning, going, "Gosh, there's 2 or 3 things in here that I know that they love, but man, they would be better off without it."
Yeah.
What like do you find some people are like, hey, no, I'm meat based and I'm fat based, but man, I love my avocados, or hey, or like coffee, something to where it's like one thing that's plant based that definitely is not doing their body any good. What do you see most often that the things that people have a hard time letting go?
Yeah,
when they're so close.
In such instances, what we do is immediately demand that person's card be returned. We cut their card in half. We name them and shame them. We publicly point them out and say, you never really were a carnivore and you did it wrong.
Oh, that's how you do it. Because we've just been stoning them over here. That's how we do it.
Oh, well, depends on what kind of stoning you're talking about as to whether that's a good thing or not, I guess. Also for another day. Look,
we got to get our greens in, right?
That's it. Now, look, I am definitely one of those folk myself who runs generally around the 90-something% carnivore across time. There are 1 or 2 things that I personally have a weakness for, a like for, that I do let leak into my existence.
Just potato chips, right?
Not so much these days. That was one.
Okay.
Kind of drift a bit. Anyway, that with all of that being said, I myself am in no position to demand anybody's card or any other, because I myself am not perfect, and I've never claimed that I was in terms of perfect.
Sure.
with my own application of what I do in my life. I stand up and say, here is what is ideal. And I'm very clear about what is ideal. And I'm also very clear that I myself am not necessarily behaving in an ideal fashion. The teacher and the person behind the teacher, not the same thing necessarily. So I do understand people like that. Absolutely. With people like that, it is my duty to help them understand, if I possibly can, that while they pat themselves on the back as I do and say, well, 90, 95% is pretty good. What one needs to understand is that the penalty against one's health for that 5% of transgression is vastly inflamed with respect to the 5%. It's much more than 5%. I feel at least half as good, if not as good again, on top in short periods where I'm able to be 100% adherent and knock all the nonsense out.
Yeah, because
So I understand. I've been there. I've done it several times. I know how bad that 5% is, and yet there it is in my life because I'm a human being, an imperfect human being. Yeah.
Do you ever have a month where you just go like 100% and then go, okay, heck with that. We're like 80% this month.
Yep.
What are your biggest vices?
Alcohol, potato chips was in there, a bit of pizza or other bread-related material occasionally. Less and less as the years go by because I respond violently, really badly to that kind of stuff. The next day, you wouldn't want to be within QE, frankly. It's just, it's an absolute disaster zone for all concerned. That's really about it. There's not much that sneaks in. Yeah. Sorry. Blueberries. I'm partial to a blueberry occasionally.
Blueberries. Oh, okay, you can have those.
There's not much of anything in that except some contraindicated fiber, some sugar, not very much. I think it's about 40 grams per dessert bowl serving.
Cool. Okay. One more question, if I may. And you're probably going to roll your eyes on this one, but it's a contest prep related question. So the gentleman that I was referring to earlier, Nathaniel, he's the first competitor that I've ever put on stage that has done not a single step of cardio in his entire prep. I've never been able to get anybody peeled to the bone to get like to 5% body fat or lower. I don't, and like we're not being super accurate on that because these things say that I'm 2% body fat in the off season, which is definitely not true. So there's a lot of variability from person to person, but we're getting unhealthily lean temporarily to step on stage. That is a sport of bodybuilding. Okay. Coach Mark is going to be stepping on stage, and he's my co-host of this show. He's not here with us today, obviously, but he's going to be stepping on stage in about 2 weeks, which is why he's not doing this. He's kind of off all social media and everything at the moment. But cardio recommendations to the tail end of a contest prep. If we want to have as much muscle as possible and as little body fat as possible, low intensity, I mean, that burns up glycogen and it eats away at muscle tissue. Yes, it makes you burn fat. I think the reason it's so popular is because you see the scale go down. People see the scale go down. They're like, wow, low intensity cardio is working. And then you get addicted to it. And then you're just out training a bad diet before you know it. Between that and HIIT cardio, I'm just curious as to what your suggestion would be, or just go, let's just keep working on the diet. But I don't feel comfortable about taking any more food away from him.
Right. I personally would not use low intensity cardio activity as a means to lose fat for anybody, let alone a person preparing for a competition, bodybuilding competition, for example.
Right.
I just wouldn't use it at all. I think it's absolutely contraindicated. And I would use manipulation of the macros to achieve a fat loss or fat gain effect, depending what I was looking for. So I would be upping or downing the amount of fat and or protein to get the ratio such as that will encourage one or the other.
Yeah,
because you can
think
do
we'll
that in that lever of control.
We'll just keep heading that direction, and I'm thinking like a even like a 48-hour fast would probably be a better idea than adding in cardio.
Yep.
Okay.
But you wouldn't necessarily go straight to a 48-hour fast if the person has never fasted before. That might be a bit.
Yeah. Oh, his meal plan is actually, he's strict lion now too, as of last week. Before that, he was having like a little bit of eggs here and there, and so we took that out. We took butter out, and that got him past that plateau. So we've been trying to find ways to optimize our hormones as much as we can, and see how far we can get by optimizing their digestion, optimizing their sleep, getting grounded throughout the day, doing everything possible that we can think of before just saying, okay, eat less and start doing cardio. And cardio, of course, is the absolute last resort.
Correct.
Very, very, very good. Wow. This has been an absolutely life-changing conversation. To say it would be an understatement. Thank you so very much again, Bart, for your time today. Where are the best places for people to follow you and your content right now? I'll put links to all this below.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. It's my privilege to, as I say, to come and cross-pollinate and to share some ideas. If you go to the YouTubes and you type in @Bart-KAY, you found me. And in the show notes underneath every single one of my videos, you will also find a one-stop shop for all things Bart related, which is a bit.ly address with a /Bart-KAY after that, generally. And you click on that, and that's where you can go to the merchandise store. You can join consultancy tiers if you want to. There's even a link to the Cerule product there that we were talking about earlier if you like. But I suspect that Colt might want his own Cerule store because it's quite lucrative, by the way, or can be. In which case we'll talk about that after the recording, and we can sort that out for you.
That's the first thing I'm going to ask you when I hit the end stream button. Yeah.
Sure. We'll do that. So the link will probably be Colt's rather than mine.
Sounds good.
There you go.
And then on your store too, you guys, seriously go check out his store. The t-shirts, the coffee mugs. I mean, you'll just die laughing at half of this stuff. We had to get the mug. Taylor, my wife is a coffee drinker, and so I was like, babe, we got to get something off. I was like, what do you think? And she was like, oh, the coffee mug for sure. So it's an anti-vax mug.
Is it though?
I mean, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks again, Bart.
My pleasure.